Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to learn something related to biology and the biological molecules. So today our focus would be on the biological molecules and the test that we basically do for biological molecules. You have learned about this in IGCSE O levels as well, that how do we test a certain type of molecule is present in food or not. So these are the simple tests. Let's just let's just go into what we are going to learn today. So first one is the Benedict test, and you must have guessed, most of you must have guessed, that this is used for reducing sugars or mainly for glucose or such molecules. And the second one is iodine test, that is used to detect the presence of starch. And then the third one is the immersion test, that is used to detect the fats. And the last one is the biuret test, which is used to test whether the protein is present or not. But keep in mind, when we talk about the biuret test, whether the protein is present or not, we need to keep in mind that they should have a peptide bond. At least two to three peptide bonds should be present so that your reagent can work on those peptide bonds and the color changes. So what is the chemistry behind them? So a simple let me explain this in the simple word. Actually, the color changes, we know it very well, but why? Because old bonds got broken and the new bonds are formed. Simple. So when the new bond is formed, those new bonds form an other color. They make a complex with some other color. So there is a change in color which actually shows that, okay, certain compound is present or not. For example, if you talk about the peptide bond, if that peptide bond is broken and a new bond is formed, only then the color change. If a peptide bond is not present, for example, in starch, peptide bond is not present, glycosidic bond is present, so definitely color is not going to change because that very reagent is going to act on peptide bond, not on the glycosidic bond. Okay, Ji, let's discuss the first one, the Benedict test for reducing sugar. So we'll just add the Benedict's reagent. What is Benedict's reagent? It has mainly copper sulfate ions, and you know that copper is, if you don't know, then I'm explaining that this one is the transition element, and we have learned this in chemistry that transition elements form colored compounds. So when this copper actually reacts with reducing sugar, they form a complex which shows a change in color. So here the copper sulfate one, you must have seen the copper sulfate one, you must have done the practical in making the crystals of copper sulfate, that is blue in color. We all know this. So when a reaction will happen, there would be a change in color. Let's just dive into it, okay, what color would be formed. So we when we put the Benedict reagent into our sample solution, we don't take a sample of like much quantity. We take a little sample of our whatever is given to us, whether it's a reducing sugar or what, and then we are going to heat that one. But keep in mind, whenever you're going to heat the test tube, kindly do not heat it directly because sometimes you know that the reaction may be explosive or it can harm you. So whenever it is asked what can be the precaution you can take, so first is use a water bath or a beaker of water for heating instead of direct heating. Simple. And you know that such questions do exist, and they were like these questions are asked in the past papers, so you must know what are the different precautions. So simply we add in the reagent and then we heat it, and the color precipitates will be formed. What will be the color will be brick red, and we will observe what will happen. A copper sulfate is reduced to basically copper oxide with 1. Now here the the valency or the oxidation state is +2 in copper sulfate, but in oxide it would be +1. You know that transition elements, they actually exist in different or they do have different oxidation states. So a positive test result is, as we discussed earlier, the brown or brick red precipitates would form. So it's not fully quantitative. you can say test, it's a semi quantitative. It actually tells you the concentration by a slight change in the color or what, but you just cannot say that this tells us the exact amount of reducing sugar present or not. So here's a simple explanation of this test. We are going to heat the we are going to put Benedict solution in our sample. It's a blue color, and then we heat it up in a beaker of water or water bath, and we heat it up unless the color changes. So first of all, the color would be blue, then it slightly changes into green, then to slightly orange, and then the dark brick red precipitates would be formed. You can actually observe the thickness and the particles floating, the precipitates floating, so you can easily observe it if you look carefully. Now the second test is for the non-reducing sugars. Now, for example, if I talk about sucrose is a non-reducing sugar. So how do we test it? We just put a slight change in it. We just add an acid. So we add dilute hydrochloric acid to a sample and heat it in a water bath. Simple. Now, if non-reducing sugar is present, the color will change. Now, we when we add this, then we have to neutralize it with sodium hydrogen carbonate, because the solution should be slightly alkaline. So this condition need to be slightly alkaline for Benedict test to occur, because we have discussed this in copper sulfate as well. So the copper oxide is formed. So here we have to give it a slight alkaline condition, so that a result would be shown. To carry out then carry out Benedict test as normal, add Benedict reagent and then boil it, and you will observe the change in color. If a color change, then a non-reducing sugar is present. So what we are going to do next, we when we add dilute hydrochloric acid, we are actually giving condition to the sucrose. So the next step is we have to neutralize this dilute hydrochloric acid. And how do we neutralize? We add sodium hydrogen carbonate. So what is the purpose behind neutralizing it? So that we can give it alkaline environment, because certain reagent need a certain type of alkalinity or acidity to react. We need a certain environment, so we just add sodium hydrogen carbonate. So then we carry out the Benedict test as normal, as we do. Just add the sample, just add Benedict reagent to the sample and then heat it up in the water bath, and then observe the changes. The same color would be observed, ordinary precipitates. The only difference lies in the addition of the hydrochloric acid, and nothing else is different. So whenever you are going to compare how do we test the reducing sugars or the non-reducing sugars, keep in mind the only difference lies in the addition of dilute hydrochloric acid in the non-reducing reagents. Clear? Let's move to the next test, that is the iodine test for starch. Okay, now many students have made these mistakes in the exams and lost marks. Though these mistakes seems quite common, or you can say these are the common words, how can these be wrong, but these are actually wrong. When we talk about the iodine test for starch, sometimes it is asked in question, okay, how do you carry out the test for starch? And the mistake that is most commonly seen is the student write the iodine test. Okay, don't write iodine alone, just write that iodine solution. What is that iodine solution? Iodine is potassium iodide solution, because iodine is iodine can sublime easily. It is volatile, it can evaporate easily, so you have to use that one in a certain solution. So please don't make this mistake in exam, or otherwise you will lose your marks. And this is quite common mistake that I observed in the past. Okay, then what will happen when we just add it, and then what we do, we just add it to the sample, and the starch will turn. You can see the color in this picture as well, that the color will turn blue black. Okay, now you can do this at home easily as well. You might not have Benedict solution, but you have this. You can perform this test at home. Simple. Take the pyodine, or the tincture of iodine that we commonly use at antiseptic. So just take that, take few drops and put them on a slice of potato, and you can easily observe the change. Just simply perform it and you will get your results. Next one is the immersion test, that is used for lipids, that is for the detection of fats. Just add ethanol to the sample and then shake it. Simple. This lipid is inorganic or organic. Of course, it's organic and non-polar. So when it is non-polar, it cannot dissolve in water simply. It has to be dissolved in some organic compound or organic solvent. So we take ethanol and we mix this lipid sample in ethanol, and you will observe that it can mix easily. When it mix easily, just add water to it, and there will be formation of some emulsion. It would turns turbid. Keep in mind, if you have more oil or the more fats in your sample, the more turbid it would be. So a milky emulsion will form. The more lipid present, the more obvious the milky color of the solution. So try to take the concentrated one. There is a concept of series dilution as well, so we will learn about that later. But when you carry out an experiment, you need the solution of different concentrations or different molality, so we use those dilutions one. So the last test for today is the biuret test, that is used for proteins, and as I have discussed in the introduction as well, that for proteins we need a peptide bond, and here we need few peptide bonds in order to carry out the reaction. So it doesn't mean that you have a longer chains of amino acid, you can have a shorter chain, but keep in mind you should have peptide bond. So simply we add the biuret solution into our sample. But let's first discuss what is biuret reagent made up of. It is made up of two things. First one is the alkali. You can use sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide, you can choose any, and then you have to mix it in a solution of copper sulfate. So we have discussed earlier in bioenergetic text as well that that the color of the copper sulfate is blue, so the obvious color would be blue, the solution would be blue. So when you add this to your protein sample, you can say uh, take sample from egg or whatever food sample is present, so the color will turn definitely different. It would be lilac, violet, whatever, or purple color is formed. This indicates that protein is present. If the color doesn't change, it remains blue, it means protein is not present. Simple. So this is all for this video. I hope all understand, you all have understood this concept and how do we carry out certain tests. There are certain things that you need to keep in mind while performing a test, and this is all. See you in the next video. Goodbye.